be here in a place of hope in this time. We need to have our hope. We cannot forsake our hope. I thought I would start by borrowing one of Malvern's books and reading a poem I think we would like to hear right now at this time in this intersection. It's called Thanks. It's by W.S. Merwin. Thanks. Listen, with the night falling, we are saying thank you. We are stopping on the bridges to bow from the railings. We are running out of the glass rooms with our mouth full of food to look at the sky and say thank you. We are standing by the water, thanking it, standing by the windows looking out in our directions, back from a series of hospitals, back from a mugging. After funerals, we are saying thank you. After the news of the dead, whether or not we knew them, we are saying thank you. Over telephones, we are saying thank you. In doorways and in the backs of cars and in elevators, remembering wars and the police at the door and the beatings on the stairs, we are saying thank you. In the banks, we are saying thank you in the faces of the officials and the rich and all who will never change. We go on saying thank you, thank you. With the animals dying around us, taking our feelings, we are saying thank you. With the forests falling faster than the minutes of our lives, we are saying thank you. With the words going out like cells of a brain, with the cities growing over us, we are saying thank you. Faster and faster, with nobody listening, we are saying thank you. Thank you, we are saying and waving, dark though it is. I didn't even open the book all the way, I promise. I didn't even do anything to this line, but I just thought of that poem and thought, yeah, that's one that we need to hear right now. We can't give up our hope. And the young women of this world, they're going to save everything. It's all going to be fine. So I'm just going to read the poems that are in this issue. Thank you so much to Ryan and everyone at Borderlands for having me in this issue and for interviewing me. I think I learned more from the interview than, answering the questions. I thought the questions that you had to ask were so interesting, and I loved thinking about them, and I loved hearing the others read, and I loved hearing your work, and so thank you. Sort of like you don't really want to start a reading of your own work with a poem by W.S. Merwin. Like I need to let a little time pass, and then you're like, oh yeah, yours is not anywhere near as good as that guy's. So this poem is called, a lot of these poems are about having children and the sort of way that changes the world for you. Mine is over there on my phone. She's really interested in poetry. This is called Noon, Inventory. The tiny flowers withered in the vase that was once a baby food jar, sitting at the dead center of the table, and the sippy cup my son is too big for, but drinks from anyway. The fan that doesn't go high enough is really no use, and the TV playing sports news in the next room, there is always sports news. Parenting books sag the bottom bookshelf. The children nap for now, and oh, here comes the email from the student with a strange talent for pulling Derrida into any conversation. No matter what we're discussing, Derrida. Even once, when he was telling me he didn't have the assignment, even then, we arrived after a long and aerobic journey at good old Derrida, his white hair and elegant European ideas. And it felt so good to get there finally, I admit. It had been like watching a helicopter struggle to alight on top of a heart hospital in a bad windstorm, the moments passing gravely, passing wearily, and so at least I knew where I was, even if it wasn't anywhere I wanted to be. How nice it must be, I thought, to keep an ace in the hole like that. As nice as it must be to have a God to talk to. And no, I don't even mean to know a God is listening. I just mean to have one and to talk to it. And this poem is called The End of the Year. I've been working on a novel, and so these are some of the only poems I've really written in the last few months. So they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, I wrote that poem. Yeah, I remember this one. The End of the Year. This is a poem that features this little being over here who's on my phone. She's 6 now. She's like, was about 3 when I but it is. The End of the Year. Decorating the miniature tree with the girl while the baby sleeps behind a sheet of white noise and uncorrupted darkness. Ow, she says, taking it personally each time the needles prick her. The tree can't wear it all, can't bear it all. Its branches droop with cheer. The night comes. The girl goes to bed reluctantly. The tree shines in the window. It is in this way the Christ child will be born again into the darkening end of the year, his animal life beginning again, the story beginning again, his tiny mouth curling toward his mother's breast, tender, same mouth he'll have his whole life. And this is a little prayer. I wrote this poem with my students. I am now the writer in residence at St. Ed's, but I taught there for not a number of years, 5 years or so. And one of the things that when I was in graduate school, Marie Howe, the poet, who also I think can be she can give us sustenance in this time for poems. There's a series of her poems in the American Poetry Review this month. Did you read those poems?
Yeah, I worked with her too.
Oh man, those poems like knock my socks off.
Yeah.
I've been reading them every day. Just, you know, she's just such a, she's just a spectacularly gifted poet and teacher. And one of the things she did when she was at the Missioner Center, we had an assignment where we had to write a poem in our minds, like go into a room, like you couldn't write down any of the lines, you just had to write it in your mind. And it was such a great exercise because you really had to sort of be solid in a line or a sentence before you went on to the next one. And it, I mean, unless you're really good at memorizing things, and you can just, I'm not. So, you know, you get rid of the stuff that's like kind of extraneous. And so I did that with my students at St. Edward's. And it's also really brilliant because then they come in and, you know, you have to like say it out loud. You don't really have it on the page. You say it, so everyone's like, you know, no one can talk to each other before the class starts because everyone's like, no, don't, I got it in my head, don't say any words. And so then they just like say it and everybody's like very relieved after they've said their poem. So this was a poem that I wrote with my students, I think, at St. Edward's when I gave them that assignment. So it's very short. I didn't have a lot of brain space at that time. Prayer. I fear it's not long enough. It won't reach. Down the hall, the white noise machine is set to ocean sounds. And so the children sleep, their exceptional sleep, all story and sweat, as the same exact wave breaks and breaks against the dark, dangerous continent of the nighttime. I'm sorry, there's a typo in that poem. I gave you a poem with a typo in it. I'm sorry about that. And then this is an aubade, I think it's a French word, of the 3-day weekend it's called. And aubade is like a poem that you would write to entice a lover to stay with you. The most famous one, of course, is the scene from Romeo and Juliet when they wake up in the morning and she says, is that the lark? And he says, it's the nightingale. He's trying to convince her to stay with him. So this is the aubade of the 3-day weekend. The reflection of our mown lawn in the neighbors' clean windows, our tree, our house, and us inside watching. I want to keep trying to discover silence and failing to discover silence, while our girl plays Barbie music full blast in her pink bedroom and perfects her moves with such earnest desire. I want to read books about meditation, but never really get the hang of it. Then I want to read books where people call meditation a waste of time. I want time to think of the pulverized grass slung in clumps all over the underside of the lawnmower, still wet, such a bright and tender green. I just want to make soup and pay bills while the baby naps inside his drowsy cloud of swaddles on the sofa. See what you've done. My love, it was you who taught me how to want. Now I want. That's the last poem in there. So thank you so much, Ryan, and thank you for having me, and thank you for coming here. And we just have to keep our solidarity and keep our hearts full of love and hope, and we're all gonna be okay. I really do believe that. Is that it?
No,
No, I'm done. I'm done. My time is done. Thank you so much.